Hi there, Salim Ismail here. I'm the chief instigator of the OpenExO community, where over 7,000 passionate, driven people are transforming the world for a better future. We want to give you an opportunity to see a bright future, a Star Trek future compared to, say, a Mad Max future that we actually have ahead of ourselves. And to really celebrate that, we want you to take a few hours out of your day and look at the decade ahead with a lens of possibility and purpose and activation. For this reason, we're going to close out 2020 by hosting ExO World, the decade of the ExO, a global online conversation about the future and how we celebrate in a world of abundance. A conversation about how every organization, nonprofit, governmental department in the world can leverage new technologies, new organizational techniques to create the future that we need and we deserve. We want to give you the tools to transform your life, your organization, the institutions, and the world that we live in. We'll see you on the 17th.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. Great to be here with you today. Today, we have Diana Stafie, who is from Romania. And as you can see on the screen, we have some awesome people coming up all the way into the new year. And so, as usual, at the beginning of the call, we will go over to a few words from our community about Diana. And so the first one is from Julia, and she says, Diana is always wonderful to work with. Her positive attitude and creativity accelerates every team, while her strategic thinking and leadership ensures the right direction. And she is immensely knowledgeable about crazy yet true startups, tech trends, and future scenarios soon becoming reality. Feels like Back to the Future. Make sure you are in the right zone because she is a lovely person to travel with. Next, we have from Suman. He says, Diana happens to be the first person from Romania I have ever interacted with. Her sharp and organized mind impressed me to start with. Next was the number of different things she's involved with. And being a futurist, she brings in significant value in the role of an EXO thinker and disruptor. She has the best combination of wisdom, empathy, and articulation. All the best, Diana. Next, from Carmen Lam, she said, Diana is super dynamic. She was an advisor. She did an advisor call for my Hong Kong client from Romania. We felt her presence in the room with us. Exponential curves do not inspire people. People inspire people. And Diana was working proof of that. And then lastly, from Yaroslav, Diana impresses instantly with her knowledge, creativity, and expertise in forecasting and staying on top of future trends. She brings a spark and deep insight into every project and acts as a trusted and effective guide for any organization wanting to learn about the future, as well as play an active role in shaping it. So these are some of the words from our community. Diana, welcome to OpenExO Live. How are you doing this evening for you?
I was more prepared for this, but after hearing all this thoughts, I was not expecting, like, some of these people I know. I worked in a project with them, but I was not expecting that they have such a good impression about myself. So I'm very grateful for that. Again, it's a living proof that the EXO community brings together minds alike. I am okay in general. It's 8 p.m. here, so it's a bit late in the day. I've been outside playing with snow with my daughter. And now, she's playing some cards. I'm doing this talk with you, and then we'll be ending the day.
Perfect.
So that's pretty much.
As we said, Diana, you are based in Romania, but can you give those who are watching just a little bit of your background, how you got into the ExO community and into what you're doing.
Yeah. So I am, first of all, a future enthusiast. Also, some of the testimonials were mentioning this. That will be my big hat, my big umbrella. Under this big umbrella, I have several hats. I am, of course, part of the ExO community, a community of beautiful minds, how I like to call it, from where not only that I learn things, but I also meet a lot of people, and we join forces in various projects, which gives a lot of energy and purpose to my work. My other hat is for my main professional activity. I am a Foresight strategy consultant, so I run projects with companies focusing on understanding changes, spotting new trends, preparing for the future through scenario planning. And I have an initiative in this respect, which is called futureStation. And like Julia was saying, as part of this work, I also kind of undertake a lot of research into innovations, exponential technologies, like knowing all those crazy startups that she was mentioning, or I don't know, a certain patent or a scientific paper or a gadget or a new product. I also teach Foresight. I'm part of the leadership team of the Singularity University chapter here. I also have a role as a board member for an IT company in Romania, Connections Consult. Like, we are focusing on RPA and a lot of exponential technologies. I do talks with lovely people like you from time to time. So let's say these are my other small hats. And as a background, I used to work in consultancy in Big Four in Romania, but also as an expat in the Netherlands in a corporate environment. Now, how did I get to the ExO community? There is a story related to that. And the story goes as follows. Of course, like any of the members that are here, I read Salim's book, and I was following the Singularity University's activity. And then I happened to meet Lars from our community. Just a brief parenthesis, part of my education in Foresight was also a program in Sweden that was commissioned by the European Commission. So I was in one of those trips, actually, I had a meeting with Lars on the airport. As a coincidence or not, our next meeting was again on an airport. And Lars was in Romania for the sprint that they had with Bitdefender some years back, Bitdefender being our cybersecurity emblematic company, let's say. And at that time, Lars invited me to give a speech in a sprint on education that he was starting, Educate for Life, which is a great endeavor, by the way. And what I remember is that in that call, he also invited Jeremy Mikulski, which is also part of this community. And I was so impressed by their approach, by the purpose, the way they see things. So remember, this was before the pandemic, right? So they were having this online session for, I think, 3-4 hours. All ran very smoothly. There were very good discussions. Lars even played parts of the DJ Marshmallow concert that they had in Fortnite. So it was really interesting to be part of this group, and many of the people that were in that sprint, they are also part now of the community, and that all inspired me. They inspired me through their purpose, through the way that they were looking at things. So I wanted to join as well. And I went through all the certifications that we have and that we should be going through, trainer, coaching. I did even a coaching the coach session. And I engage from time to time with the community or with the community members in various projects. Now, in addition to people, there is also one other very specific thing that attracted me to ExO. Again, I do not want to emphasize the fact that everything is pink. Like Salim just said in that video, we are over 7,000 people in the community. I do not know all of them, but those that I know and I've been involved with, I think they really have the potential to contribute to change in whatever domain is that. So I was saying, in addition to people, what I enjoy about ExO, and more specifically about the method, the model that we work with in the sprint, is its inclusion. So I run this Foresight projects, correct? I have a framework, I believe in it, I work with it in my projects, with my clients. So the idea of having another framework that aspires, let's say, a certain supremacy wouldn't have been necessarily a fit. And I actually think that this is where the superpower and the strength of the ExO model came in, because it allows not only myself, but to everybody to kind of combine different elements from different frameworks. You don't have to go to a client and say, oh, you used to work with Lean? Okay, forget about that. Or did you work with design thinking? No, forget about that. The model, the ExO model, is made in such a way that you can do the sprint by plugging in the different capabilities that maybe a company has or you have. And that, for me, being a methods junkie, let's say, made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was actually speaking to someone yesterday, and we were saying exactly the same thing. He has on the screen, I just put a comment from Sanjay, and that reminds me that I have some questions that I have prepared, and Diana has also prepared. But if you are watching this, you can also ask questions. So whether you're watching it on LinkedIn or Facebook or on YouTube, you can ask the questions right there. So the first thing I want to really ask you, Diana, is in terms of the Foresight work and futures work, can you give people a little bit of understanding what that actually is, how that works? Yeah,
of course. So Foresight is, in essence, a strategic tool that, with the help of which we manage uncertainty and we explore possible futures in a very systematic way. The aim is to help organizations, but also their teams, to be more resilient or better prepared for the future. I'm not of the view that this is the only way to do strategic planning. I also don't think that if we do Foresight, we eliminate any uncertainty. I just consider that it can be used in conjunction maybe with other approaches, but it has very good strengths, that the methodology has very good strengths that can be capitalized on. Because the work of Foresight lives from the premises that the future is not linear. It's not predetermined. And we should not just look at it like an extrapolation of today. We have this tendency of considering the future as a linear development. Based on what we know today, we make this extrapolation, maybe with just some small deviations. And when we do that, we miss the exponentiality of changes. So what we do in the future work is that we try to allow uncertainty, to allow trends or unknown signals that are still weak into the planning that we are running, and to develop different alternatives and views of the future. Again, I do not believe in predictions. I think that the prizes nowadays go to those that instead prepare. You probably know the saying, prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. So my work here goes into helping organizations rather investigate and prepare for the future than just doing predictions. Like, there are all these people that know exactly how the future is going to be like. I rather believe in those that prepare than those that follow this path. It is interesting maybe to mention that the concept itself, it actually emerged from the military planning, and the scenarios also emerged from there, because they were thinking that the enemy can attack from various places in different ways. So they were preparing scenarios. And in late 60s, it was brought to the business world by Shell, the oil and gas company. And they are also a pioneer and this work. They make available a lot of the scenarios that they are building, and they try to be the thought leader, let's say, in that direction. So if you have ever seen reports, I don't know, such as Future of Work 2025, or future of any industry you want, or scenarios post-pandemic, let's say, these are usually the type of work that we see coming out of the foresight processes. And in my work, I do go into, on one side, strategic planning, and on the other side, focusing on learning, upskilling, or maybe, I don't know, enhancing futures thinking for the teams. So that's pretty much the type of work.
Okay, yeah. So essentially looking at multiple different scenarios, and then getting prepared for those different scenarios.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
And would you say that this work, as well as work within exponential, is work that is for the for-profit domain only, or do you see this in other domains as well?
No, definitely not. So I do majority of my work with for-profit organizations, that's true, but I also work with several clients on the non-profit side. And we look into future of skills in social field, or emerging professions for the NGO sector, or future of fundraising, or future of activism. And I really enjoy working with these organizations. Although they are not maybe that exposed to all the corporate innovations or the exponentials that you were mentioning, but they have the purpose and the grit. They are aware that each of us can influence the future with our actions or inactions. And it's a great inspiration for me to be part of such projects. And also, a thing that I'm proud of, in Romania, it has developed a lot this in terms of social innovation, entrepreneurship. There are many organizations, individuals carrying this fight. So I think they are good, let's say, looking ahead, the future looks bright.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I know you say you're not a predictor, but people like to know predictions. And when it comes to exponential technologies, they're hard to predict, right? You can look at trends and how something, for example, is growing or improving in terms of those technologies. But what do you see as the role of all these multiple technologies, whether it's a dozen or more, into the future?
Yeah. First of all, I believe the future will be human. With that being said, I am amazed and I get very excited by the pace of innovation in the technology field. Like I said, I follow closely for my own satisfaction, but also like to understand what does technological developments mean for my clients. So we look at AI, of course, it's already, let's say, a buzz for a lot of years, but it continues to be one of the technologies that has significant effects on how we live, how we work, how we play, who we are. I look very much into RPA, another technology that it's worthwhile watching which is a big driver for anything that has to do with job automation, partially or totally. And for us in Romania, it's an important technology because we have WayPath, which is a company started here with a Romanian founder and became a unicorn. And again, it's a big deal. I look as well, of course, into Internet of Things. And I wonder all the time how and when will all these things around me going to be more interconnected and be able to properly communicate for better safety, efficiency, convenience. I also look a lot in cybersecurity. And it's interesting because actually today we have a flourishing IT sector in Romania, let's say. And today the European Union has approved that our country will be the host of the European Union Cybersecurity Center, which is which is meant to be like a hub that will distribute the funds for research in this area for the entire block. And that's a great achievement and a pillar towards a sustainable development for us. And if I'm allowed to make a joke, it's also a very good timing for myself. I started a master recently, which is in security and diplomacy. It's a former NATO program. But having this type of development kind of keeps me motivated to keep learning alongside my very, very young colleagues.
Wow, that's really interesting. And Sanjay just put in the comments, that foresight, futures thinking, and the ExO methodology are all complementary in nature, and ultimately there is a bit of a convergence there. Like you said, the ExO model is quite a meta type model. It works with other models. But what would you say, is that convergence of using ExO with your futures work?
Yeah. So like I said, the ExO model is a very permissive model. I think Yaroslav had this saying in which he was naming the ExO model as a one that is not jealous of the other models or something like this. There are a lot of elements in the various phases of the ExO sprint that have that allow part of it to be catalyzed through the foresight work, especially if I think of the extremes, let's say, of a sprint. So, for example, in the first part of the sprint is where we look for the new startups, for the, let's say, new order, for the emerging technologies, which is similar to what we do in horizon scanning as a part of the foresight project. As well, I see great value in the disruption sessions that we have in the sprint and how we tap into the collective intelligence of the community. And that's also an element that I'm using and to enrich, let's say, my foresight practice, because exposing the clients to the entire, let's say, global brain that our community has, I think it's very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, ultimately, there's a requirement, I believe, moving into the future, that every organization understands exponential, understands the future, but it all starts with leadership. So, what would you say, to leaders of not only for-profit organizations, but perhaps, cities and governments and nonprofits, what would you say to them around the future and considering building an ExO?
Your question made me think of something that I read. So it comes from a hockey player. I'm not a hockey expert or something, don't get me wrong. I just remember this thing that I read in an article. I was inspired by what this guy said. I think his name is Gretzky. He's Canadian, if I'm not wrong.
Wayne Gretzky,
Yeah. So he is talking about how to thrive, how to be successful in hockey. And he was explaining that a good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great one plays where the puck will be. So I think this is, or at least made me think of the similarities with the business world. Not all the players reach the same destination. It's also a matter of where leaders want to play. And I don't say it is easy. No, not at all, especially in times like this, when all the operational aspects are kicking in, when you have to deal with a crisis and well-being of employees and everything. But focusing only on today and preparing for tomorrow only with the numbers of the past might just not be enough. Again, especially in a period like this one. Salim talks a lot about the immune system, how that is so easily activated. And in some of the projects, before looking into the future, what I do is that we look into the past to understand our behavior, to understand how the leadership, how the organization has behaved in past crises or in front of other past extreme events. And some of them realize that their behavior in the past was dictated by how their immune system kicked in. So they started to maybe stay in conservation. They decided not to invest, not to innovate. They said, oh, maybe they wait and see what happens. And some of them, in hindsight, they realized that they missed some opportunities. And again, I also understand you don't necessarily maybe have to hire consultants or, I don't know, expensive experts if you cannot afford that. But I think it's really important to keep an eye on the change, on what happens outside of your organization, outside of your industry. Just to make sure that you are not too much focused on this, and you might be missing the gazelle that is passing by.
Before we went live, you were speaking a little bit about your work, on boards, and also looking at governance and how you speaking about the future and what that looks like with them. Can you share a little bit with the folks who are watching?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy actually that this, out of the entire conversation that we had, that this was the project that has attracted you, because is one of the recent projects that I'm involved. We have in Romania the first business school, let's say, for board directors, which is a big step again for the future of business. And they work with a business school from UK, the Henley Business School, and also with a lot of board members. And what we actually aim is to explore how the future of boards and business governance will going to look like in general. So just imagine yourself, for example, you are in this organization, you are a board member, and then you have a new colleague out of a sudden, and he is an AI. So then one of the future hypotheses that we look into is how will this board meetings going to look like when the exponential technologies are becoming part of it. And again, this is not that futuristic. We had already in 2014, I think, there was this Japanese venture capital firm that they had as, they named an AI as part of their board of directors, because they thought, and they were sure that he has the ability to pick up on some of the trends that are not so immediately obvious for the humans. And this helped them to kind of understand which could be the successful investments that the fund wanted to look into. And then we had, I think, Davos, I think 2 years back, I heard the interview of the CEO of Salesforce. And I was intrigued by the fact that he was explaining that he has these executive meetings with 30, 40 executives, and they discuss the decisions, the strategies for the future. And then after all that, he calls in Einstein. And I was like, who is Einstein? And then apparently he has an AI machine that it helps them to take all the decision. And even Einstein argues with some of his executives. And that was really interesting to learn. Or because, again, we talk at the ExO a lot about the massive transformative purpose and about purpose in general. There was this movement initiative and that was launched in September this year by Eric Rice, which is the lean startup initiator. He launched on the market an alternative stock exchange, he calls it, which is, just imagine a New York Stock Exchange or any other stock exchange that it's actually that values companies based on their long-term plans, based on employee well-being, I don't know, based on purpose, so on other values than what we are currently see. So in this project, we started looking at these various signals, let's call it like this. And the idea is to kind of understand if they will become mainstream, how well future of governance going to look like, how my meeting as a board member going to look like, what would be my role, my value added, how we're going to collaborate with, say, the AI. And of course, also the aim of the project is actually to kind of understand what the next generation of board members should prepare for. It's a very interesting project. I'm happy that you mentioned it, and I do look forward to see the results of that.
Yes, so do we, because it is really interesting in a way that how can it benefit the future? How can it make us make better decisions that are not only good financially, but are good across a number of different factors. So, Diana, to end off, is there anything you'd like to share? I mean, you've been pretty positive. You've said that the future is human. The future is positive. But anything you'd like to end off as we close out?
I think I would like, first of all, to thank you for the invitation and to send my gratitude towards you and towards those that are organizing this for the fact that you are valuing the members of the community. I think it's one of the, let's say, the strengths of the ExO community, and that's makes me feel that we are appreciated and that our work or our views are very much taken into account. So thank you again for the invitation, and let's keep up, let's say, the good work that has been done so far.
Awesome. Diana, really great to chat to you again. You have a fantastic night there, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and enjoy the rest of the year and holidays, as pandemic as they are, and looking forward to seeing you in person soon. Perfect.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
So that was Diana Stafie from Romania, giving us a bit of an understanding about the future, what it holds, what the scenarios are, that she can't predict the future, but it's important to be ready for different scenarios, to be prepared. And so thanks to everybody who's been watching, to the comments that have come through. Really great to see those. On the 17th of December, we are running a global event, which is called the Decade of the ExO. We truly believe that this decade ahead is going to be unlike any decade we have seen before. And so we invite you to come and join us. We have sessions that are taking place in a number of countries around the world. So I'm going to end off just with a video from Salim giving a bit more information. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.
Hi there, Salim Ismail here. I'm the chief instigator of the OpenExO community, where over 7,000 passionate, driven people are transforming the world for a better future. This is obviously a very difficult time for the world. Our institutions are failing, democracy is threatened, climate change is looming, and the coronavirus pandemic rages on. Millions of people are stuck at home, not traveling, huddled in fear in their local communities. We want to give you an opportunity to see a bright future, a Star Trek future compared to, say, a Mad Max future that we actually have ahead of ourselves. And to really celebrate that, we want you to take a few hours out of your day and look at the decade ahead with a lens of possibility and purpose and activation. For this reason, we're going to close out 2020 by hosting ExO World, the Decade of the ExO, a global online conversation about the future and how we celebrate in a world of abundance. A conversation about how every organization, nonprofit, governmental department in the world can leverage new technologies, new organizational techniques to create the future that we need and we deserve. An event where you can discover and refine your purpose and link up with people across the globe to reach your goals and to activate with them. So we want to invite you to this event. It goes past presentations and discussions and brainstorming to a conversation and activation on how we transform the world, where you're empowered to do it. We want to give you the tools to transform your life, your organization, the institutions, and the world that we live in. And we're going to announce a very special structure and process at which anybody can take an idea and activate it and get going very, very quickly. We'll see you on the 17th.